Go ahead and get started. So it is week 36 of our laboratory of redemption. Our topic for this month is Steadfast. My name is Kayvon Hill. I am conducting the meeting today. I am a part of the 360 Adjuster Academy. I've been an adjuster for 2 years now. I've had a really interesting story as an adjuster, like pretty much similar to everyone else. Starting off with no experience, and just getting thrown into the field, which I'm sure if there's some of you in here that are, aspiring to be adjusters and we're waiting on those deployments right now, uh, I was in the same boat as you about 2 years ago at exactly this time, just in that waiting period, that waiting season after acquiring my license. So one thing I can say, to the people that are waiting and that are eager to get on that first deployment, just be patient. That, and it ties into our topic of steadfast. We have to be diligent with anything that we aspire to be or to do or to accomplish in life. You have to stay the course, and that's pretty much what being steadfast.
Oh, I think we lost him. Said he had low bandwidth.
Oh man.
He was going in, wasn't
he? Yeah.
He about to jump right back on. There you go. Nope. Kayvon Hill. Paging passenger Kayvon Hill.
Can you
Paging
hear me?
passenger Kayvon Hill.
Hello? Hello?
Kayvon Hill, your bags are ready.
Yes.
You're live, brother. You're live.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm out of town right now. I'm in New Orleans by my family house, so I think my service might not be the best.
Hey, you just keep on talking. Hey, just make it work.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to make sure that y'all can hear me. All right, so like I was saying, just about my history as an adjuster, and basically everything that ties into our topic is, the important lesson I feel like for all of us right now is just the lesson of being patient and, just having faith, which is our number one core principle over here at the 360 Adjuster Academy. So just to give you guys our mission statement, I would like to go ahead and go over that with you all. Our mission statement at the 360 Adjuster Academy is to provide premier training and mentorship to new and existing independent insurance adjusters so that they can become subject matter experts within the insurance adjuster industry. And our core principles are what I just stated. Faith is our number one core principle, which is firm belief in something for which there is no proof. That's having complete trust. Number two is integrity, the firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values, incorruptibility in a sense. And number three is resilience, the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. That's thriving in spite of any circumstance. And number four, which is a very important core value, core principle that we have, is production. Production is the act or process of creating something of value, such as a good, service, and specifically as an adjuster, that's closing a claim. Because we all know for my existing adjusters with experience, a top priority as an adjuster is, of course, we want to always have that integrity, but you always want to show that production. That's what keeps you around on deployments. That's what keeps you employed. That's what helps with your reputation within the industry. So you always want to produce. And over here at the 360 Adjuster Academy, our business model is come find your vision within our vision. And in a sense, what we mean by that is we use the insurance industry. This is a tool for all of us. We don't ever want to put ourselves in a box. We don't ever want to limit ourselves. And specifically, if you attended our last gathering last Sunday, we discussed how as in the insurance industry, there's ups and downs. It's like a roller coaster, which it's like life. We have our fast seasons, we have our slow seasons. So it's within this insurance adjuster industry, we want to come and find our vision, something that we're passionate about and our purpose, and we want to use this tool that we have, this beautiful blessing that we have to, acquire a great amount of money, and we want to invest, and we want to go ahead and use that to open up other doors and build bridges to other areas of our lives. So that's a brief introduction of myself. That's our mission statement. That's our core principles. Before we go ahead and transition over to Janae, I would like to remind everyone in here, if you can please fill out our feedback form for us. If you have any questions that need answers, please go ahead and feel free to drop them. We will get an answer for you. And it's down below, so go ahead and if you have any questions right now, if you have anything for me, just go ahead and drop the questions. So with that being said, the Adjuster Academy's own Janae, if you would like to come on up.
Okay, can everyone hear me? If you could just put like a 2 in the chat, letting me know, because my service also isn't great. Awesome, thank you. Okay, again, I mean, for starters, I want to apologize if it's a little noisy in my background. I'm kind of in a busy area, so I'll try to make it, quick, brief, and to the point. I'm sure by now everyone is pretty familiar with who I am, my name, my face, but if for some reason you're new to the call, my name is Janae Aiken. I've been adjusting for a year. This is the start of my 2nd year, but what a year it was. Very, very impactful year of adjusting for myself. As we know, we're gearing up for the new season coming up. Since we spoke last week, how many storms have popped off? I mean, I think we heard stuff in Indiana, Texas, Ohio, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois. Like, that was just this past week. It is happening. If you're not ready, I don't feel sorry for you at this point, because we've been talking about this for about 2 months now to get ready. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm so well rested. Like, I'm ready to just attack this new year coming up. And I can't wait for everyone to start getting those calls. So, the energy around here will be a little different. But nonetheless, like I said, the storms are popping off. I can't imagine what's going to happen this next week. Please reach out to people if you haven't already, especially if you're very new, you have no experience. You definitely want to get some of these firms familiar with your name, or at least, speak to them so they can be familiar with who you are coming up into the new season. But like I said, I'll keep it brief. Something that I did want to mention, I've spoken to my managers throughout the year, and I always tell them, whenever you can give me feedback, please let me know. I'm always looking to get better. Of course, that's what we're trying to do, right? Produce the best product that we can, so that we're at the top of the line to get called. So some of my managers know pretty well that I'm always looking for some feedback. And one of my managers called me this week, just to go over a few things, not necessarily that I was doing, but just to be, cautious of and pay attention to. So for seasoned adjusters, maybe you could take some of this advice as well. For new people, of course, if you implement these things, you're going to be able to stand out. One of the things that he mentioned is we already know to take a lot of photos, right? As seasons adjust, when we're been adjusting for a little bit, we kind of take less photos and less photos and less photos, right? We just take photos of the things we know we're gonna buy, get it in, let's do it quickly and be efficient. One thing he pointed out to me is, when you're denying something, you need to take twice as many photos.
Yeah.
When you're denying something, you want to make sure you take photos of, there's no damage here, there's no present here, just so that the goal is to make it a transaction for the next person if they have to reopen it. That's one thing in my first year, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't care about at all. I was like, man, once I'm done with the claim, I don't care. Until I was on I was part of the cleanup crew. I cared.
Yo, Janae, one more time. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. We work one more time.
Yeah, sorry.
You broke up
Sorry, you
pretty
can't
good.
hear me?
Yeah, go back to where you were talking
I'm
about.
sorry. Can you hear me?
Cleanup.
Oh, okay. Did you catch some of that? Yeah, I was just saying that I was a part of the cleanup crew, and that made me realize how important it is to, just take better care of your claims. You actually do care about the people that are coming in behind you, because eventually, as a season adjuster, you're gonna be in that position. The second thing is overscoping, paying attention to like labor minimums. You know, when you're at the end, you're doing your whole entire report, you're finally done. The report is like 50,000, 70,000, you're done. And then you're ready to send it. You don't even check the labor minimum, see what unnecessary items are still there at the end that you can easily overscope. So that was something that he said too. And lastly, like I said, I'll keep this brief. Lastly, is you just want to be a candidate that's coachable. When people are telling you, you know, how to get better or what mistakes you're making, make sure you're just giving an attitude that makes it seem like you're paying attention.
Right.
You want to do better. You know, don't brush them off or, you know, feel like you are working forward into your career this year. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. Right now, we're going to go ahead and bring on our very own Miss K-Joy, Kandace Johnson. If you can come on and speak to us a little bit.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's go.
Let's go. That's our
Woo,
manager.
huh?
Sorry, y'all. I was having a hard time getting off mute. Hey, all right. So thank you for that intro. So I go by Coach K-Joy or Kandace Johnson. Thank you, Gary. So for most of y'all probably know a little bit about my story. I've been in insurance for 18 years. I've done the auto and the property side. I've done the IA side and the staff side for many years. And then, am I breaking up? Can y'all hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. So, and then I also went into leadership, and I've done leadership on the staff and the AI side for 8 to 9 years. So, quite a bit of background there. I also coach as a public speaker coaching for public speaking, sorry. And then also working on becoming a life coach as well. So, heavily focused on customer service and development. I'm going to apologize now if y'all can hear a little patter feet of a dog. I'm dog sitting as well, and she's having a great time with a ball. So I apologize. All right. So a few things I want to go into though, since we're talking about Steadfast this week. You know, one of the first things I like to do is always look up the word and see kind of what a generic definition is. I love the definitions that Kayvon and Janae have thrown out in the last, few weeks. So we've been talking about this and some other speakers. So what came up for me was that it says, dutifully, firm, and unwavering. And then similar terms are like loyal, faithful, committed, devoted, dedicated, dependable, and reliable. So got a little bit about my story and some practical things within that to share with you guys. Try to share some things maybe I haven't shared before just to keep it fresh. But when I think about being steadfast in my own terms, I definitely think about faith, which is definitely something Kayvon and Janae have put out there as well. But I also think about it in a way of standing on my journey. Like I like to talk a lot when I talk about motivational speaking or when I coach people in reference to multiple things, then I like to talk about staying in the journey of the fight of life, right? So when I think about work, it's kind of its own yellow brick road to whatever my goals are. And so when I think about being steadfast through that journey, I think about, many of y'all know I climbed the ladder. I started out doing data entry. I had a degree, but the company wasn't hiring yet at that level. And so I came in to do data entry. I went into a call center for agents, and then I got into auto claims first. Part of that though, even though I was a public speaker, I interviewed 3 to 4 times before I became an auto claims adjuster. And man, I got to tell you, that was a hurt to the ego, right? But it was because it was so competitive with the company. And it was definitely a Fortune 500 company with State Farm. I'd been with them for a few years and promoted up twice. It was the first job I'd applied for and, wasn't offered the position next. So it was a big hit to the ego. But I got to say, sometimes in being steadfast and realizing what your goals are, part of that journey and that walk is going to be failure or times when you don't feel so successful. So what I took away every time was the feedback, because I got lucky enough to always have an interview team that was willing to share the feedback and that would encourage me to continue to try, because it was an really competitive spot to get into auto at the time with State Farm at that time. So I stayed with it. I stayed faithful. I continued doing a great job in the position I was in. And then I tried to coach up. I tried to get an auto mentor. I tried to stay in touch with the leadership in auto. And eventually I had an opportunity to get in there. It was the 3rd or the 4th interview. I mean, I got to say, it was probably that's the most I've ever interviewed to try to get into one position. But that 20K jump being staff was, it was worth it. It was worth it. in the skills that you learn, you can definitely learn a lot from all avenues and claims and insurance. But I think there's a certain level of that comes with working claims at any level that really gets you into a different part of maturity, into understanding and empathy. So when you think about being steadfast, I was an auto adjuster who handled bodily injury. At that time, a lot of companies didn't separate out BI and non-BI reps or auto and non-attorney reps. Now I know a lot of companies do that. They didn't do that. So I handled it all, right? From minor entries all the way up to death claims. And those death claims included parents, it included major injuries. So I had things that came across my desk. One that stood out was a claim where there were 3 young adults that had gone into the military, had gone out one night for a celebration after, I believe graduation. They had a interesting night is what I'll say. And unfortunately, all 3 of them did not survive after the car accident. So very traumatic situation. Not only was it traumatic, but you're also dealing with a third party entity. If you've ever done VI claims, when you're dealing with bodily injury in the military, things run a little different. People that have military background or military insurance, it's great insurance. But when you're handling it on the claim side, there's a lot of different things to come into play when you're dealing with a third party with the military. And that's not a bad thing. So I'm not saying it like that. It just runs a different course. But I say that to say, many of y'all have heard me say that through my auto claim experience, there's been some BI claims that hit my desk that definitely hit me kind of in the throat. You're trucking along. I've talked before about treading water in your career, and those things hit your desk, and you got to step back and think for a second. It makes you think about a different perspective on so many things. The first death claim that came across my desk, there was a young adult driving, a Mustang with his girlfriend in the other seat. Her leg is propped up on the dash. He's coming so fast that the lady pulling out of the stop sign never saw him. They said she would have never seen him, based on how fast witnesses said he came. She died on impact. Her 2 kids and husband were at home waiting on her to come home from shopping. It probably took us 3 or 4 months before we even got in touch. Before he was willing to talk with, and I don't want to say willing to talk to us. That sounds insensitive. As a husband and a dad, coming with that news, there's a lot of other aspects, right? I'm an adjuster trying to handle a death claim and set up multiple things, but from a dad's perspective and a husband perspective, I'm sure 3 to 4 months seemed like nothing. His wife was never coming back home due to our insured son. So when you think about staying loyal and faithful to a job, you also want to think about the things that it brings to you, right? There's so many avenues that I can say that I grew in, from being in auto claims for about 5 years before I joined the property side of the house. I've always been pretty mature for my age, but there were conversations that things just don't get you ready for. No matter how much training you've had, no matter how great the company is, there's just things that are going to come across your desk. And in this industry, all of us are in insurance, whether it's auto or property. There's going to be some things you run into, and I'll talk a little more about that as I talk about my property side. But I say that to say, when we talk about steadfast, you got to know that the thing you're standing on, being loyal and faithful to, is good for you and that it's on the right trajectory, right? And if it's not, you got to think about, a few things. I'm going to encourage you to think about if it's healthy, if it's toxic, your community, all of those things. But I'm going to keep going. We're on a track here. But I think about the other thing with auto. I got into auto. My manager loved him to death. He was so open. He was so, he had a leadership and human component, but we didn't communicate well. I think I've told some of y'all this story. And my pending always seemed to stay high. It didn't matter how hard I worked. I was doing things right. And he always say, Johnson, why is your pendant always so high? And I was like, let's sit and look at that. We look at stuff, and he's like, you get the crazy, I don't know what it is, you get the craziest stuff across your desk. And I was like, yeah. Well, one day I'm sitting talking to him, and he's looking at me like I'm nuts. And I'm wondering, I finally stopped and asked him, what's the problem? We're in here talking about my pending. You're looking at me kind of crazy. And he's like, you do good work, but you talk really fast. So half the time I can't keep up with what you're saying. And I'm like, oh, okay, we can fix that. This is fixable, right? Because this is my career we're talking about. I need to make sure what I need to fix. You heard Janae say earlier, taking feedback. I'm all about that life. I want the feedback. I want to know how I can get better. I want to know how I can get to the next level. So, I just say that to say, I could have responded in a way that was like, communication, what do you mean? I'm talking plain English. But I just step back for a second and just think about it from his perspective and just pause, like, well, what do you mean? And when he said, it was real simple. He's like, you speak really fast You come in always with something already on your mind and you're going, I'm trying to catch up. So be mindful of those things as you move through your career. This is an industry that you can easily stay loyal to and faithful to. Just be open to the feedback, like Janae said. I love that. And if you're not open to feedback, it's going to be a hard thing to grow in. I'm not saying you can't do it. What I would say is get some supportive community that'll help shift that mindset, because it's definitely doable. A few other things I'll touch on real quick before I finish up and we open up for questions. As I shifted into property, I will say that for some of y'all, you may never go staff. So I'll share some secrets with y'all that aren't real secrets. But sometimes when you want to shift from the auto side of the house to the property side of the house, or vice versa, people that have been there for a long time, they're kind of tapping on you, like, well, why you want to do that? You could be a 25-year subject matter expert. You don't really need to learn that side. You can do well on this. So I also just say that to say, like I said earlier, make sure you stay open to your own growth and what your plan is, but be open to things that may come your way. We've talked a lot on these calls about your adjuster's license and how many things it can take you into outside of just adjusting. For many of y'all that already know, adjusting will just be a stepping stone. But as I joined into property, I moved, I think I've shared with y'all, I did it in Florida. I did it, when I moved back to Texas. But some of the things that stand out in my journey in property were multiple things. Not only the moving part, but I always did it with a catastrophe team. So it was fast-paced work, as most of y'all know. That work, long days, quick-paced work. There's a lot that comes with that, So when I say what comes with that, you've heard Janae talk about the photos. You've heard Travis the other week shared some photos of some places he's been out to. A lot of people on here are going to talk to you from a field side. I'm also going to share a desk component because it's very interesting to see things from multiple sides. So because I've done the desk component, but I've also helped build IA teams with whether I was on staff or the IA side, I'm going to tell you that really understanding what goes into the value you bring will make a difference, hopefully, on how steadfast you are in this industry. Understanding what Janae just said, right? Like that quality piece. She didn't say quality, but what she said was quality. She started talking about the photos. You think about the photos that Travis shared before the other week. And a lot of times you'll hear in everyone's story on here, they'll talk about how maybe they weren't as great at something as they started on the onset of this industry and then grew into something different. And it's because they put in the time and the resources, right? Janae's been sharing how QA has had trainings. A lot of y'all have been dropping other positive things in the chat. And we try to share those resources because the only way to get better is to hopefully when I say stay loyal and stay focused on it, it's not necessarily staying loyal to a company. As an IA, you're going to want to go, who's giving you work and what makes sense. Again, hopefully that's healthy for you to join their team, but you also want to be doing your own growth aspects, right? You want to listen to that feedback, like Janae said, and then you want to find those areas to grow. And while you're in your downtime, you want to be trying to go to those resources. A lot of times we're dropping free resources in the chat, or like Janae brought up the other week with QA doing, I think it was a week full of trainings off and on, and things from, claim 101 to water mitigation. And that's just stuff a lot of times you won't get an offer for free. So when we think about staying steadfast to something, you gotta, for me, when I talk about that journey and the fight of life, it's the journey in my career as well, right? When I talk about building your own yellow brick road, a lot of times in my coaching sessions, it's not about what looks right to Coach KJ, right? What looks good to me doesn't have to be Travis's path, and that's okay. And, same thing for, Ricky. And so keep in mind, though, in that path, you have to determine what you stay loyal and faithful to, and make sure that it's something, like I said, my biggest thing is that it's healthy, that it's a positive journey. We, of course, want you to make good money, but also learn how to handle that money, right? But the other things with property, Janae talked about the photos. There is a different component from the desk and from the field. And a lot of times people don't see it from both perspectives. So I think it's really good that we have people on here talking about the different perspectives in the field, because sometimes if you never see it on the other side, you don't always know what your counterparts need to be successful as well. And to me, being steadfast in something, it's not just about Coach KJ, right? I lead a team of leaders that lead adjusters. I need to make sure what we're providing to our field partners and vice versa helps everybody be successful. It's not just my path, right? If I'm doing well and my team's doing well, we're helping the field do well and vice versa, and giving that positive feedback, we're all winning. And that's really what it's about. When you think about being steadfast and loyal to whether it's a company, whether it's a firm, whatever it is. And I understand as an IA, we're going to move firms. That's not what I'm saying. Again, think about what's healthy to you and your growth, but do the best job for you. Here's one thing I can say, and I'm just going to pick on Travis right now because it's everybody's go-to. But when I hear so many people that come onto the call and talk about how they found this community, either through Travis and even Ronnie, right? Then I think about the things I hear people say about them, right? And I'm one that's very observant to that. So I love to hear that people talk about the quality and the caring piece that these two bring when they're talking and recruiting people to the table. And then I think about, as I listen to Janae, Major, Demetrio, and some of y'all share your interaction when you first met Travis and how he kind of easily took you under his wing, right? There's a Steadfast piece there, right? That may not have, and he was still working at the same time. I don't know if most of y'all have caught that. Like Travis wasn't on, he's off of assignment and he's taking people in. He's still on the assignment too, and trying to make sure people are doing well along with himself. So I just want to say that make sure that along this journey, while you're learning to become better, you're making sure that you're taking that time where you need to. When you think about where you're going to stay loyal to, think about that integrity piece we've talked about before. To hold steadfast really doesn't mean much if you don't know who that person is. And if you're working on that, that's okay. We're all typically still growing, changing. So I'm not saying that. But I want you to make sure that it's healthy as you grow that environment, that you're open to the resources. As you take in people to be steadfast with you, make sure that you're on a good path, right? Like, I love the fact that we'll have people eventually on this call that are like, hey, I'm getting into leadership, or hey, I may be doing, when I say QA, no pun against the QA IA firm, but I may be doing quality audits. There's so many different avenues. There's file reviewing, there's people writing packages out there. When I say packages, there's people that they're going to get the photos, and then other teams are writing that actual estimate for them at the desk and still making money a different way. So there's so many ways and so many avenues that if you choose to stay steadfast to this goal and loyal to it, there's ways to get there, and we'll help you do that in a healthy way. And that's the biggest thing for me, right? Healthy and non-toxic. So the other thing is, Janae talked about being on the cleanup crew on the back end. Some of y'all won't know what that's like, but let me tell you, when she said it helped me see things in a different light, I knew exactly where she was getting at, right? I see Travis shaking his head. I'm sure Major's been there. So many of y'all, I've even had other people reach out and say, hey, I hope y'all talk about supplements, because we definitely want to make sure like we get our supplements down because we know it's coming, right? So again, y'all, a lot of times people recognize those areas, but sometimes people being new to the industry, you just don't know where all to branch out to. And that's where we want to be here to help you in your goals as you are looking at staying steadfast to, to this industry until it gets your vision within a vision, right? Right. That's our thing. So reach out to us as a resource where we can help you. Make sure that wherever you're staying steadfast to is healthy. Make sure it makes sense, and make sure that you check in with yourself every now and then too, because success is going to change and the idea of that shifts, and that's okay. We just want to help make sure we can help you get there. And I can tell you there's so many avenues. Ronnie does auto, Ryan does auto. They both do property as well. A lot of people on the call do property, but they're open to learning auto, right? I heard Janae's interest peak last week when I think it was BJ that said something about what he made per hour on one of those things. And she was like, wait, hold on, was that auto? So I just want to make sure that you guys stay open to things that are good for you, your headspace, and for what you're trying to do. And it may be outside of the box, and that's where we're going to come in and help you be able to find those things to stay loyal to and those resources, because this community cares. And even with us, as this academy continues to grow in fruition, that's the biggest thing for us, right? We're staying steadfast and loyal to y'all. We continue to review and watch for different avenues and speakers to bring on that we believe will help you guys grow in a healthy way. Not only on the side of the practical piece, but on the mental piece, which is what always grabbed my heart, was both. So I appreciate you guys giving me your time today. I'm open for questions, concerns, and I look forward to continuing the journey. One day we'll be continuing to celebrate people getting licenses. We'll be continuing, people as they're going into, grabbing property development and different things from their other visions. So I just want to say I look forward to that with you all. I'll turn it back over to, or open it up for questions, I believe is where we're headed. Sorry.
Good job, Miss K Joy. Good job, Miss
Thank
K Joy. I
you.
see Janae reaching for the mute button. It's
Miss
escaping her.
Candace, I have a question because I also have an issue with talking fast. That's because I should be bilingual. Anyways, that's near there. How have you worked on trying to like what exercises have you done to help yourself not speak so quickly and be able to enunciate and articulate without it coming off too fast to other people?
You know, that's always a work in progress, to be honest with you, Ronnie. Sometimes while I'm talking, I have to remind myself to slow down because depending on what I'm talking about, I get really excited and passionate about, and then I'm just going, and I don't realize it at all. And then other times I do in my mind, because when I coach people, I'm thinking about where they need to pause. So I am always thinking about that normally when I'm presenting or talking to somebody, or because I've had quite a few people, including my own boss, reminding me on presentations, take a breath, Candace, pause, let them ask questions, you know, like stop flowing. Just so it's a work in progress. It still is a work in progress. And there are still times, believe me, that I still need to find my pausing moment. I still need to take a breath. But as far as trying to enunciate, you know, for the most part, I was debater for years. So that's really what got me into focusing on that. But there are still times, you know, nothing's perfect at all. And so a lot of times I practice, honestly, practice. And I write in pause, like, stop, pause. Not to say I always follow that when I'm in front of it, but that's what I attempt to do.
Okay, thank you.
I know for myself, I tend to, hello, can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
I was saying, like, I know for myself, I speak very quickly at times. Growing up, I always have, my mom used to always tell me, can you slow down? Please slow down when you speak to me. But I've noticed that when it comes to customers or clients, when I'm speaking to them, I really focus on slowing down. One, because before, when I first started, I realized I had to repeat myself over and over and over again. So now I just try to really slow it down, and I always ask, did you understand everything? Do you have any questions? Stuff like that, because I know that I speak very fast at times. So yeah, it's a problem for me too.
No, you do not. I actually like hearing your voice.
I've worked on it. Yeah, I've worked on it. Like, even when I'm on these calls, I focus. I'm like, okay, Janae, you're going too fast. Slow down so people can hear what you're trying to say. So I literally focus in on it. I have to be present of it every time I talk to other people.
I think part of that is if you're used to talking fast and you're talking to people fast all the time, and if they're talking back to you fast, then you're used to hearing it. But people down from the South, they're used to a slower, more meaningful dialect than
especially when they're on the phone with you. I'm like begging for them to get it out almost.
Correct. But my question in association with that, Candace, is when your peers told you that you were talking too fast, how did that make you feel? Did you take it offensively, or did you decide that was something that you were going to work on?
So initially, yes, it's been both. So peers and leadership. And I've had to catch myself because, yes, some moments I've definitely wanted to jump to the defensive, like, well, no, I'm just trying to get out enough time. But then it's like, hold on, wait. You know, I've really always tried to catch myself and try to understand the other piece of where people were coming from. So, yes, sometimes it has been almost a defense mechanism, right? It's like, hold on, wait, I practiced, I'm trying. But the other piece of that was trying to just really respect what they shared. To be honest, most of the people that have given that feedback, they weren't anybody that would be maliciously given that kind of feedback. So I've also tried to think about the angle of where that was coming from. And even if it was malicious, if they felt like I was talking too fast, somebody else 9 times out of 10 also felt the same way and probably didn't say anything. And it does hurt your enunciation and how you say things and how people pick it up and hear it. And the whole point of it typically is you want them to be able to understand what you're sharing.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question for you, Ms. K. Joy. Now, you mentioned something that you kind of breezed by, but I found from my experience with it, it's like, wow. Dealing with those death claims that you talked about. That's if you've been in business long enough, it's inevitable. It will happen to you. You will have one of those. How did you get through that, and how did you deal with it? Like, how did you work through that? Because for me, I was kind of wrecked for a moment. How'd you get through that?
For sure. Same thing, Travis, to be honest. I don't think you ever really know for sure how it'll hit you until it happens. And on the BI claim side, when you get to that tier of handling death claims, you know at any time it can hit your desk. I can say the first few times I definitely had to step away and breathe, and then allow myself to process that. And I can say the tenured folks on my team had said, when this happens, just let us know. We'll help walk you through it. And I'm, no, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I don't know why I thought that. I'm an emotional person, y'all. So definitely had my moments. And I can say some of those, it was that before I even saw the photos. And it was once I could get through it while I was reading it. But then once those photos came in of the cars, or even on the property side with stuff, sometimes with fires and different things that happen, or biohazard claims because someone's committed suicide for some of those, that may not know, then those photos come in and it's a whole different tug on the heart. So I would say, take a moment, step away and take a breath, try to get your thoughts together, but don't let the empathy piece be drained, because people, when you're calling people in those situations, they know you're calling because you have to, and they're talking to you because they don't have another choice. And depending on which side of the fence it's on, for me on the auto piece, it ran a little different because a lot of times it was months before we could get in touch with the people that were impacted from the death, because they're handling so much on the front end with family and different things. On the property side, sometimes with suicide claims or attempted suicides, they're quicker to respond because the mess is in the house right then, if that makes sense. And so where a lot of times on the auto side, the investigation, everything's pending with the police department for months, neither side can get in, cars are impounded. But on the house side, on the property side, people's homes are impacted. They need their home clean, whether it's their home or a family member's home. So I would say take the moment, breathe, read through it, try to understand what you can before you call. But I would also say just try to make sure you're asking those open-ended questions, because from what I found, that one of the harder things was adjusters that I led, if they were calling people and kind of assumed parts of stories in a suicide or a suicide attempt or domestic violence situation, it caused the people to spiral, because it's a trigger, right? Like, don't assume this person was bad, don't assume this person was on drug, that kind of stuff made things spiral. But try to just be calm, try to breathe, try to take some time to process it before you call, and really read through what you have, and then ask open-ended questions and truly be willing to listen, actively listen, because if you're not, it's going to cause some harder situations for you.
Thank you for that. That's just a big deal for me. I had a hard time, but thank you. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to look at on either side, and some people, the one thing about the car is typically the car is totaled and it's gone and it's held up in investigation. A lot of times these houses, it may be in an investigation, but after that's cleared, somebody still lives there, or somebody's got to deal with getting rid of the property or whatever, next. So it hits very different for people.
I can only imagine what it's like dealing with those type of claims. That's real emotional.
Very emotional. And I think the thing with that is just be honest with yourself. You'll hear people say like, you need to be able to handle it professionally. You will, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Some of the auto claims that hit my desk, I cried before I could get up. Tears were starting to come, Some of those property claims, as those photos came in and those police reports, before I could hit the bathroom, and I tried to dab. I'm not gonna lie, I was grabbing a Kleenex, trying to dab real quick. And if anybody watched, I just politely asked, I just need a second. But I can't imagine any leader that would be rough on people for that. But if you run into that, I would just, excuse yourself, take the moment, and then try to compose yourself, because it's not an easy conversation. So.
Miss Kandace, When you was working in auto, did you work under staff or were you working with a vendor?
I worked under staff for State Farm. I worked in-house for auto in-house for 4 to 5 years, and then I did in the field for a year, and it was staff both times.
Okay, because I've worked 2 deployments with auto, which I mean, personally, I do like auto better than property just because mentally it's a little bit more easier to work with. But I came in working A&W, and then the next deployment I did total loss. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how did you go into bodily injury? Because they said it takes some time to move into that segment of auto and claims.
Well, so Ronnie, with that, I was staff already with State Farm, and I got promoted. Well, I say promoted because I was coming from a call center into auto claims, and the auto claims team that was hiring, that they were building, was a BI team at the time. But that, I mean, we are talking about, that was, let me date myself real quick. That was like 07, 08, you know, so things were being handled a little different. The company I was with then was State Farm. They're under completely new, you know, CEO and handling. I know a lot has changed the way they're handling things now.
Because they don't really hire too many independent adjusters for that, do they? Well, from my experience, I'm just going to be transparent with you guys. I've applied for several different, you know, insurance companies just based on my experience with, you know, vendors, and they just don't really give me a chance. So I've looked outside of that because of that reason.
Yeah. And when I was there at that time, everybody that I knew in my department was staff. That doesn't mean we didn't have IAs handling stuff when we ramped up. And there could have been people that were IAs that I just didn't know because I was so new at the time becoming an auto adjuster, and then they ramp you into the BIPs. So to be honest, I was so stuck on trying to learn my own job there. It was quite a while before I even knew like how they were handling cat stuff. And I know they were bringing in IAs for that. But I would think, you know, based on the background, they would still be open to hiring because the educational piece of understanding, you know, the damage and how to write and talk that jargon is still going to be the same for most people. So I would continue to try for sure.
Well, I applied for Millard Mitchell like 2 times, and they keep getting me to run around. So
Okay. Well, let me know. I mean, if you want to connect and we talk about anything, you know, anything with whatever you're putting on there, you know, I'm glad to share any feedback I can.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
You got my number. Yeah, just reach out.
I do. I'm gonna use it more.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to talk to you more. Yeah.
Hey, I just had a question.
Sure.
Yeah, there was like you guys brought up like quality and like photos and things like that, and I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm like perfect or like I don't mess up or like, but if anything, like I'm really like I'm an overthinker, and I've been really thinking like my ability to really like, you know, work at you guys level and make the money that you guys have been making. I've just really haven't been thinking that I could do that or I'm even capable of doing that. But I had a file that I'm working on. It's a reinspection, and thinking as I see it, like there's like so many different things like wrong with the file, and there were some things that I was kind of taking, I'll say personal, because it's through a company, and the adjusters from Texas, they flew them out, got them a hotel, and this file I'm doing, I don't know if the guy is new or whatever, but when I look at his file, like everything is wrong. Misidentifying damage, not able to verify damage. When I look at the photo report, like he's notating damage on the photo report, but not including the GLR. The GLR looks bad. It's not any estimate. So basically, I'm looking at it and I'm just like, yeah, like the homeowner told him he's gonna go to court, and I'm like, yeah, you'll win. Like I didn't say that, but I'm like, you know, he'll win if he takes this to court because the kid looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. But I just wanted to just kind of ask, like, does quality really matter? Because it seems like I'm good enough to go and reinspect that claim, and there's a lot that needs to be done. And I'm an hour from that claim, and they flew someone out to handle these claims, and I don't think they flew him out for one claim. So I just kind of wanted to just get, you know, you guys take on it. And also I could say that like looking at that claim and looking at what I've been able to do, again, I'm still learning, I'm not perfect, but I've been really so hard on myself thinking that I'm not able to really like work at such a high level and do good. And looking at this file, it seems like, you know, it's about who you know and what you're, and that's really kind of all that matters. So from looking at this situation.
So I will say, I'll jump in on this first, guys, if y'all don't mind. So I would say, yes, quality definitely matters. But keep in mind, just like at the desk and at the field level, we're going to have people that we bring in that there's multiple things. There's people that aren't going to tell the truth on their resume. And then there's always going to be a certain percentage of people they bring in that don't have as much experience just because of where the market is. Unfortunately, I mean, some of the accounts that I work, they prefer so many years of experience. But when a storm hits, right, like what Janae was just talking about with all the storms that just recently hit, everybody in the market for the IA firms are pulling at the top talent, and people are typically going to go one of two places. They're going to go where they're familiar, or they're going to go with money. And so somewhere somebody's going to be left on the short stick, and there's going to be new IA adjusters trying to get in because they're hungry, right? They're wanting to learn, they want to get in on the money, or just, maybe they're ready to just change to a different, I don't want to make everything money. I mean, it don't hurt, but maybe they're just changing industry. So it's just like anything else. The hard part with that, Tyree, is going to be, I think all of us can look back. I know I can, working at the desk, and even when I wrote my first auto estimate, it definitely wasn't where it was when I left, any of those industries. When I left auto claims in-house, when I was handling BI claims and got to more severe claims, probably those ranges and what I was offering and what I was writing cars for, even in the field, changed a lot over my progression of learning. The one difference I had was I started off as staff, right? So I got a different training than what most IAs are going to get because y'all are responsible for your own training. So a lot of times when we hire as firms, since now I do work for a firm, and we've been through that with hiring people that, oh, well, no, their resume, we interview them. I've talked to some of them, and it's like, oh no. And they get in there and it's like, A to B don't quite match, right? So the part of that, it's a give and take. Quality does matter, and firms will mark people as non-rehirable if they cannot get help, if they can't get there. There is such a thing as, what do they call it? DNR. Yeah, DNR. So we try to stay away from doing that to people with the firm that I'm with right now. But when you say quality, and we talk all the time, so myself and our field leaders, there's surveys going. My people are sending, my leaders are sending stuff back to me. Certain calls that I'm having a roundtable on for higher up complex situations. If I'm seeing the same field adjuster, I'm definitely getting with field leadership. We've got field adjusters, same situation, right? Coming in, they're writing stuff that don't add up. The GLR doesn't make sense to what they wrote. Why do we still have them on this account? So quality will absolutely get you written out of a job, in my opinion. I'm definitely somebody else, that wants to speak to that. I just would say, and it is tough, Tyree, because like you said, on the back end, now you're being sent out and you're like, yeah, this definitely, if it goes to court, could cause us an issue. And we will always, I feel like in this industry, no matter what, as long as we have people that we as companies are not taking in, providing the training, you will always run a risk of having somebody out there that may not be at a level that you want them to be at on quality right away. But it's a risk when we have to ramp up for CAT, because companies can't afford to have that kind of overhead all year long, right? Which is the one thing that keeps us employed as IAs, because we need that ramp up space as when I'm thinking from a staff space, but now I'm with a TPA. So, they have to have that availability, and you're going to run that risk. And we talk about this always on the TPA side, with my recruiting team and onboarding team, and how many times I've even interviewed folks, and boy, they got through that interview and they got to the desk or in the field. We were like, oh, that's not quite what that experience looked like. So, there's some companies now that do certifications, and do different things, testing with Xactimate skills and trying to get a better idea. But I think it's a hard thing to get around, just my opinion from the TPA side. I think I saw Janae shaking her head. I'm not sure if you were going to say something, Janae. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm totally agreeing with you. But just to piggyback off what you're saying, for Tyree, I would say, I'm the same way. I'm always looking for some type of feedback. When you're overthinking, I'm so sorry about the noise, guys. I apologize. When you're overthinking constantly, it's easy in this industry because you're independent, right? So I would just say, when you go to do any field appointments, build that rapport with your manager. Tell them, hey, if there's little things that you see me getting wrong, Austin, can you give me some feedback on that? If you have time out your day to show me how I can kind of stand out, then ask them for that kind of information, because otherwise they may not offer you that type of information. The other thing I wanted to say about quality is that the competition it's not that tough. I have to say the competition is not that tough. What I did last year is not outstanding work. You know what I mean? I just did what I was told to do, and I tried to do it as best as I could. But the competition is not that tough. So if you're giving quality, you're easily going to stand out. I'm sorry about the noise, guys. But yeah, if you're giving quality, I feel like you're easily going to stand out from those other people, and that'll keep you on deployment longer than the rest. That's just my.
No, I appreciate it. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm being like insensitive to like someone is new. I'm definitely not doing that. No, and I always like pride myself on like doing. Sorry about that. I'm always pride myself on like doing better. Like when I first started, like last year, I had 7 claims under my belt, and I got the call to work a lot of dailies. You know, I asked one of the supervisors. I said, "Hey, how's my work?" And she's like, "Your work is outstanding." Told my lead and everything. So I'm always trying to do better. It's just, I think why I took this one so hard is because I'm like, you know, the homeowner told me that the kid told him, you know, I'm from Texas. They flew me out. There's a hotel. And I'm like, well, you know, I work for the same company. I'm an IE for the company too. And this is an hour away from me. And you're bringing other people from other states. And it's like, I do understand the industry. I 100% understand it. But it's just like, I'm good enough to look over his work, but I'm not good enough to get this claim, which I'm only getting about, let's say $200 for a reinspection when I could have got the full amount that the kid got, and his estimate and everything was just terrible. And I think that's where really like I'm just more upset about it. And, you know, I'm just kind of going to express my feelings to my lead about it, because it's just, you know, I should have got that claim. I was available at that, you know, around that time, and you're bringing people out. But I think that's really what I'm a little bit upset about, taking a little personal, which maybe I probably shouldn't, but you know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Focus on your quality. Just focus on your quality and your product. That's what I would say.
100% agree. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong. And even sharing the feedback with your leadership, like, hey, you know, I saw this and I took this away. I'd be mindful of the tone of that conversation, Tyree, because you may be passionate about it because of knowing how you feel, but sometimes it can come off wrong. So, and sometimes the reason that happens where people get sent and they're flown in from different places, we've seen it, I've seen it with my firm, you know, maybe that person was referred by somebody, maybe they've worked with them before, you know, it can be a number of things, or maybe depending on what they were looking at on getting people out, they had people situated trying to move people to this place and that place, and things get changed at the last minute. Sometimes things get really tossed up, you know, and not always go as planned from the firm side. So I'm just telling you, I'm in those meetings a lot. So sometimes there's names all over the board that's like, hey, we know their quality, we know that, you know, but we've got to move around for this and that last minute thing that's come up. So sometimes it's not anything personal to you on why you were closer and didn't get that. It's just the way some things got pulled and moved around on some rosters, or, you know, call outs, maybe with recruiting movements, you know, so it's not always anything personal to the person. So I'll just share that from a TPA side, and being in those meetings with making some decisions sometimes on who's being called out on certain things when we're talking with other leaders and directors.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it helps that, you know, I got to the group before I spoke to my supervisor, because I definitely was gonna, you know, kind of get a little, try to be as respectful as I can, but say some things that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm gonna stand on them, and it is what it is, because I'm like, you know, I'm not getting work from them anyway, so it's like I got nothing to lose because you're not giving me anything, and then it's the quality that you're accepting. Then I guess I really don't need to be working for it. If this is what, you know, is getting passed through. So I'll you know, tone down myself a little bit and restructure that conversation I'm gonna have. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Good luck with that for sure. Hope it turns out, you know, goes well, and maybe they'll have a good reason on how things got handled the way they did, you know, and I'm sure they'll appreciate that you're passionate about quality. So hope that goes well, sir.
All right.
All right.
Let's back over.
Do we have any more questions? Okay.
All right. Well, guys, please, if
So,
you didn't get a chance, please fill out the feedback form. We do appreciate that. I'm sorry, Kayvon, you go ahead.
Yeah. Just I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say thank you, Coach K. Joy, for that information. And also what you were going to say as well. And if you guys have any other questions just before the meeting ends, just feel free to raise your hand or something. But just a reminder, with all of the storms and everything that's kicking off, it's definitely time to get. Okay, I think we have a question. Just saw a hand raised. Shaylin, did you want to come on? I think they're still muted.
Oh,
okay. Well,
hey, can you remember me?
Yeah.
We was in Minnesota and Florida together.
Oh, bro, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Hey, oh man, can you see me?
That's crazy. I worked with. Yeah, I can see. We worked together in Minnesota. That's crazy.
In
What's up,
Florida.
brother? And Florida.
Yeah, that's it. Where you at now?
I'm in Houston right now. Well, I'm currently in New Orleans, but in Houston waiting for work.
Okay, so that with Dahlia and Quan and them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Now I'm
I'm glad that you joined the meeting, man. Go to the
yeah. I'm in New York, New Jersey, New York. Well, no, I just recognized you. Just had to say hey.
Man, that's crazy. The world. Who introduced you to the community?
Oh,
to 360 Adjuster Academy.
Tyree.
Okay, how you doing, man?
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Oh, Tyree. Okay. Welcome. All right, y'all. But like I was stating, with deployments and everything picking back up, we're still reminding everyone for our challenge. The 100K Club challenge. Let's push ourselves. Let's get mentally prepared to attack these claims and get that production going, closing them out. We want to maximize as much as possible. So just another reminder, and also another reminder as well. If you guys are available next weekend, next Sunday, please join us again for another weekly gathering of our adjusters for week 37 for Laboratory of Redemption. We do have our guest speakers. We're gonna have a panel next week. 360's on Demetrio, Major Adams, and K Joy and Larry Peterson. So please join us again next Sunday for our weekly gathering. We would be overly joyed to have you join us again. And before we go ahead and wrap everything up, if there are any other questions or anything, please feel free to ask us right now. But if we don't, that's everything. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach K Joy, for that information. We look forward to seeing everyone next Sunday.
Happy Sunday, guys.
Thanks,
here
y'all.
we
Have
go.
a good night.
Dance it out.
Yeah,
Hey, welcome,
right.
Brother Shaylin. Welcome, Brother Shaylin.
But Shaylo, reach out to me, brother. Let's reconnect, man. That's crazy. We're getting people into the group, man.
Oh, what you say?
y'all.
I'm sorry. It was muted. I was getting some tea.
I was just saying, I still have your number, bro. I'm gonna give you a call, man. Happy to
That
see you
sounds
in
familiar. It sounds like you said that to me before.
here. Yeah. I'm gonna give you a call, bro.
All right.